Alphabet is one of the most valuable companies on the planet, and yet I believe most investors don't really understand why the stock is going to dominate over the next 10 years. It isn't just about the Google searches anymore. Alphabet is quietly building multiple profit engines that are going to compound for the next 10 to 20 years. And in today's video, I want to show you the exact reason why this stock is going to soar over the next 10 years. When we start thinking about Alphabet, it has been a phenomenal performer. Long-term investors have absolutely crushed in comparison to the S&P 500 by owning this stock. Past performance isn't the reason why I'm bullish. When we start looking at bigger picture of this, the real question is simple. Does Alphabet still have a long growth runway? The answer to this obviously is yes, because it is the biggest business and it is still expanding at an exponential rate. Not shrinking, not pulling back at all. Now, when it comes to Alphabet, the core business is the digital advertising, primarily looking at the Google searches, looking at the YouTube searches. And despite all of the headlines that we see out with AI, the disruption of the searches, advertisers and advertising is still growing at an incredible pace. The business goes where the attention goes. We have billions of people on a daily basis that are doing Google searches, that are using YouTube every single day. Not tens of thousands, not even millions. We are talking billions of people are joining the platform and using the platform every single day. Not only that, when it comes to Alphabet, they are just not selling ads. They are selling very high intent ads with a very strong conversion rate. When someone is usually on Google looking for something specific, they are ready to buy that product or service they're looking for. And this, of course, makes the ad platform incredibly valuable and very difficult for a lot of advertisers to absolutely replace. Now, this is where a lot of investors get kind of confused. Is AI is not a threat for these platforms. It is an absolute integration. It is an absolute upgrade. People are worried that AI will kill the Google search itself, but Alphabet is not about disrupting the AI. It is absolutely leading it. When we start looking at being in really embedding the AI directly into the search, YouTube, Workspace, the entire ecosystem that we have within this company, it is the key because AI does not remove any of the modernization. It changes how it happens in its entirety, which is a positive benefit. So Alphabet is planning to monetize AI interactions in the same way that it is doing for the search, through ads, through subscriptions, and through the entrepreneurship tools that they possess on this platform. This turns AI from a risk to a company into a massive revenue multiplier when it comes to these. Now, of course, another big part that a lot of people don't realize that Alphabet does, Google Cloud. Now, this is the second growth engine that it has. Ads get a lot of attention when it comes to Google, when it comes to YouTube, but the cloud is being and will continue to be a major profit driver when it comes to this company. Cloud revenue continues to grow as a lot of companies do shift workloads, especially when it comes to the bearing of AI workloads into the cloud. And once a business is really on the cloud platform, they rarely ever leave the cloud platform because it's incredibly easy. That will mean reoccurring revenue every month, every quarter, every year, having higher margins over time, and being able to diversify beyond that Google search and that YouTube ads that we do see today. Now, of course, optimally, there is a big upside that a lot of investors ignore, and Alphabet has something to do what most companies do not have. It is really optionality. What does this mean? We have Waymo autonomous driving, we have AI hardware, we have long-term tech, and really don't need to be very successful to be an absolute great investment for this company. But even if one of them hits it, it has a very big upside in there. This, of course, is a free call options on future innovation, just looking at this company. Now, when we start thinking, and again, kind of taking a step back, we look at the valuation and the financial strength that we see in this company. It isn't a hype stock. Alphabet generates massive cash flow and they have massive free cash flow. They buy back shares on a regular basis, and it still trades at a reasonable valuation when we start looking at a lot of the tech companies and these mega tech giants that are massively overvalued. It's not just about buying the growth, but you are buying financially disciplined business, multiple compounding revenue streams, and really being able to drive a lot of that business. Now, of course, when it comes to investing and when it comes to companies like this, no investment is risk-free. You have to do your homework. because also remember, Alphabet is very and really does rely heavily on advertising. Competition in AI is very intense, and regulation is always a concern when it comes to big tech and when it comes to these large tech companies. Long term investing, of course, isn't about avoiding risk in its entirety. It's about owning companies that can adapt, companies that are going to change and grow as AI is introduced. And Alphabet has repeatedly proven that it could do that. Now, me personally, with the integration and looking at Alphabet, the reason why I'm very bullish on this is I do use Google search on a regular basis, the integration of AI, the integration of a lot of tools in the Google Lens, which I absolutely love, but also the integration here on YouTube. AI has started to be and working kind of in conjunction with YouTube in itself. It gives you recommendations based on your channel, based on everything that you have with the content in there. And of course, guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, definitely subscribe because there is a lot more going on that we see kind of behind the scenes when it comes to, again, kind of that AdSense revenue and being able to see how AI has really changed. And I just think of YouTube that I've been doing for a couple years and seeing now the integration of AI, even looking at the A/B testing, looking at the thumbnail testing. There's a lot of different tools that they've introduced, and a lot of them are driven by AI, which is very cool to see. When you look at a portfolio and when you look at individual companies, me personally, I only own one. I mainly 90%, probably 98% of my portfolio itself is based in ETFs and only in ETFs. I do not have mutual funds. I do not hold international stocks or ETFs. I do not hold bonds at all. A lot of people say there's way too much risk for me within the portfolio, but honestly, I'm okay with it with a 20 plus year runway to retirement. And of course, knowing that I'm holding something like the S&P 500, Alphabet is a big chunk of that. When I start looking at some of that, like the QQQM, Alphabet being a chunk of that. There are so many parts and so many moving pieces in this. When you start looking at some of the larger companies and holding within those ETFs, that is the reason why, again, personally, I do not own the individual stocks. But when you start looking at the tech sector in its entirety and see what is really driving them, you have NVIDIA, which of course is a huge driver. You have Meta, you have Alphabet, you have a lot of these companies that are driving all of the market returns that we're seeing revolving around AI. And of course, most of them are very dependent on each other, meaning that if you're looking at a company that is using the chips from NVIDIA and a lot of the driving factor that we have with computers today are using NVIDIA chips, it's interesting to see just how this whole kind of encyclical kind of thing happens within the market where companies are just buying in massive quantities from other companies. So the bottom line on this, guys, Alphabet isn't just about Google anymore. It's very cool to see the multiple engine, the compounding, and really the growth that they're getting from a bunch of different sectors. There's branching out, they're looking at the data centers, and crazy enough, and to think about it, they're building nuclear reactors to run these data centers because they are absolutely going to take a lot of power to run it. They dominate, and really Alphabet does dominate the ad business we see out there. AI is embedded across the ecosystem, which we've seen, fast growing cloud platform, and of course, long-term innovation with this, combining and really looking exactly what investors are looking for. So building wealth over the next 10 to 20 years, this is a stock that definitely requires and needs your consideration in your research. Now, let me know in the comments, are you bullish on Alphabet long-term? If you want more discipline, if you want something to break down a little bit further, I definitely can, but let me know in the comments. And of course, like the video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It gets it out to additional viewers, and let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you in the next video.